What if the moment you stopped matching his effort with endless texts, constant reassurance, and emotional chasing was the exact moment he started thinking about you the most? Most people believe that if someone becomes distant, the solution is to try harder. Send another message, start another conversation, explain yourself one more time. But what if that instinct is actually pushing the other person even further away? Here's the truth. When you match a man's distance, not to punish him, not to manipulate him, but because you value your own peace, you completely change the emotional dynamic. Suddenly, the pattern he's become comfortable with no longer exists. The silence feels different. Your absence becomes noticeable. And that's when his mind often starts asking questions he never had to ask before. Is she losing interest? Is she moving on? Did I misread how she felt? Why isn't she reacting the way I expected? Now, this doesn't mean every man will come running back, and it certainly isn't a trick to force someone's feelings. Healthy relationships are never built on mind games. Instead, matching someone's level of investment reveals something much more valuable. It exposes the truth. It shows whether he genuinely wants to reconnect or whether he was simply comfortable receiving your attention without giving the same energy in return. Throughout this video, we're going to break down the psychology behind what many men experience when the dynamic suddenly changes. You'll discover why emotional distance affects attraction, how confident women avoid the trap of chasing, and what matching his energy really communicates without saying a single word. By the end, you'll understand why protecting your self-respect is often far more powerful than trying to convince someone to choose you. And that lesson can change not only this relationship, but every relationship you have in the future.
One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming that emotional distance always means a man has stopped caring. While that can sometimes be true, it's far from the only explanation. Human emotions are rarely that simple. Many men pull away because they're processing stress, uncertainty, or personal challenges that have little to do with the relationship itself. Some become quieter when they're overwhelmed by work, family responsibilities, or major life decisions. Others withdraw because they're unsure of their feelings and need time to understand them before expressing anything. And yes, some create distance because their interest has genuinely faded. The important part is recognizing that you cannot accurately judge someone's intentions based on one quiet day or a delayed reply. Instead, look for patterns. Is the distance temporary, or has it become consistent? Does he still make an effort to reconnect, or are you carrying the entire relationship alone? Emotionally mature men understand that communication matters. Even if they need space, they usually find a way to let you know instead of leaving you confused indefinitely. On the other hand, someone who repeatedly disappears without explanation may be showing you a pattern rather than sending a hidden message. This is why your response matters more than your assumptions. Instead of chasing answers or trying to force closeness, give the situation room to reveal itself. A relationship built on mutual interest doesn't require one person to constantly pull the other forward. When both people value the connection, effort naturally flows in both directions, and that's the foundation of trust, respect, and lasting attraction.
When you stop chasing a man, something interesting often happens. Not necessarily in his behavior at first, but in his thoughts. If he has become used to you always reaching out first, checking in, or keeping every conversation alive, your sudden change in energy creates a noticeable shift. The routine he expected is no longer there, and that naturally sparks curiosity. His mind may begin asking questions he never had to ask before. Why hasn't she texted? Is she busy? Has something changed? Is she losing interest, or is she simply focusing on her own life? Those questions don't appear because you've played a clever game. They appear because human beings tend to notice changes in familiar patterns. If his feelings for you are genuine, your absence may encourage him to reflect on the relationship. He may realize how much he appreciated your presence, your kindness, or the consistency you brought into his life. Sometimes, distance gives people the perspective they didn't have while everything felt predictable. But there's another possibility, and it's just as important. If he barely notices that you've stepped back, or if he makes no effort to reconnect over time, that also gives you valuable information. Instead of wondering where you stand, you begin to see the relationship more clearly.
That's why stopping the chase isn't about creating mystery or forcing someone to miss you.
It's about making space for the other person to choose. Real interest doesn't need constant reminders. When someone truly values the connection, they'll find ways to maintain it. And if they don't, you've learned something that can protect your time, your confidence, and your emotional well-being moving forward. Emotional space is often misunderstood. Many people hear the word space and immediately assume something is wrong. But healthy space is actually a normal part of strong relationships. It allows two individuals to maintain their own identities while still building a meaningful connection together.
Psychologically, people tend to value relationships more when they feel they have the freedom to choose them, rather than being pressured into them. When every conversation feels like an obligation, or every moment requires constant reassurance, emotional fatigue can begin to replace excitement. Space helps prevent that by allowing emotions to develop naturally instead of being forced. This doesn't mean disappearing for days, ignoring messages, or creating distance to provoke a reaction. That's emotional avoidance, not healthy space. Real emotional space is built on trust. It says, I respect your independence, and I also respect my own. Both people know the connection is still there, even when they aren't communicating every minute. When you embrace this mindset, you stop measuring a relationship by how often someone texts or how quickly they reply. Instead, you begin looking at the quality of the connection. Does he consistently show up? Does he follow through on his words? Does he make time for you when it truly matters? Ironically, this shift often reduces anxiety. Instead of chasing constant proof that someone cares, you become confident enough to let their actions speak for themselves. That's where emotional security begins. Healthy relationships aren't built by holding on tighter. They're built by creating an environment where both people feel respected, trusted, and genuinely excited to keep choosing each other. At first glance, healthy distance and emotional withdrawal can look almost identical. In both situations, communication may become less frequent, and you might not hear from someone as often. But beneath the surface, they come from two completely different places, and understanding the difference can save you from months of confusion. Healthy distance is intentional, respectful, and temporary. A man who needs space because of work, family responsibilities, or personal stress doesn't disappear emotionally. He still follows through on his promises, checks in when he can, and makes it clear that the relationship matters. Even if he's busy, his actions continue to create a sense of stability and trust. Emotional withdrawal is different. Instead of creating clarity, it creates uncertainty. Conversations become inconsistent, plans are repeatedly cancelled, and you find yourself constantly wondering where you stand. Rather than communicating honestly, he leaves you guessing. Over time, you may notice that you're carrying all the emotional effort while he contributes very little in return. This is where many people fall into a difficult trap. They mistake inconsistency for mystery and believe that if they just try a little harder, things will return to normal. But healthy relationships don't require you to earn someone's attention every day. A confident woman doesn't panic when someone creates distance. She observes. She pays attention to patterns instead of isolated moments. Is he making an effort to stay connected? Does his behavior match his words? Is the relationship becoming stronger over time, or are you simply holding on to hope? Remember, love grows through consistency, not confusion. The right person won't leave you constantly questioning your value. They may need space from time to time, but they won't make you feel invisible. Knowing the difference allows you to protect your heart, set healthier boundaries, and invest your energy in relationships where care and effort flow both ways. So how can you tell if a man is paying attention again after you've stopped chasing and started matching his level of effort? The answer isn't found in dramatic declarations or sudden emotional speeches. More often, it's revealed through small but meaningful changes in his behavior. One of the first signs is consistency. Instead of waiting for you to initiate every conversation, he begins reaching out on his own. He asks genuine questions, remembers details from previous conversations, and shows curiosity about what's happening in your life. These actions suggest that you're on his mind, even when you're not together. Another sign is increased effort. He doesn't just send a quick message late at night. He looks for opportunities to spend time with you. He follows through on plans, responds with intention, and becomes more present during your conversations. Rather than expecting you to carry the relationship, he starts sharing that responsibility. You may also notice that he's more attentive to your reactions. He wants to know how you're feeling, values your opinion, and notices when something seems different. This isn't about him trying to control the situation. It's about becoming more emotionally engaged in the connection. However, remember this important point. Don't confuse temporary curiosity with lasting commitment. A few unexpected texts or a sudden burst of attention don't automatically mean real change has taken place. Lasting interest is measured over time through consistent actions, honesty, and mutual respect. The healthiest approach is to stay grounded. Appreciate genuine effort when you see it, but don't abandon your boundaries the moment his attention returns. Let his actions build trust gradually. When someone truly values you, they won't just get your attention again. They'll earn your confidence through steady, reliable behavior. One of the most powerful shifts you can make in your dating life has nothing to do with changing a man's behavior. It has everything to do with changing the way you see yourself. When your confidence comes from within, you stop relying on someone else's attention to determine your worth. It's easy to fall into the habit of seeking validation. A quick text back feels reassuring. A compliment boosts your mood. A date on the calendar makes you feel secure. While these moments are enjoyable, they shouldn't become the foundation of your self-esteem. When your happiness depends entirely on another person's response, you give away more emotional power than you realize. True confidence looks different. It means knowing that your value doesn't disappear because someone takes longer to reply or seems emotionally distant. You don't immediately assume you've done something wrong. Instead, you stay calm, continue living your life, and allow the relationship to unfold naturally. Confident women invest in themselves just as much as they invest in their relationships. They nurture friendships, pursue meaningful goals, prioritize their health, and make time for hobbies that bring genuine joy. Their lives remain full, whether they're in a relationship or not. That sense of fulfillment creates a quiet confidence that others naturally notice. Ironically, this mindset often makes you more attractive, not because you're trying to appear unavailable, but because you're emotionally balanced. You enjoy connection without becoming dependent on it. You appreciate love without losing your identity in the process. Remember, the goal isn't to convince someone to choose you. The goal is to become so grounded in your own worth that you also feel free to choose the people who consistently choose you. That's where real confidence begins, and it's the kind that no one can take away. Healthy relationships aren't built on one person giving everything while the other simply receives. They thrive when both people respect each other's time, feelings, and individuality. That's exactly what healthy boundaries create. They're not walls designed to keep love out. They're guidelines that allow love to grow in a safe and balanced way. Many people misunderstand boundaries because they associate them with rejection. In reality, a boundary is simply a clear expression of what you need to feel respected. It might mean refusing to accept last-minute plans every weekend, expecting honest communication instead of mixed signals, or choosing not to stay in conversations that become disrespectful. When you communicate your boundaries calmly and consistently, you reveal something important about yourself. You show that your self-respect isn't negotiable. You don't need to argue, threaten, or demand change. Instead, your actions quietly reinforce the standards you live by. A man who genuinely wants a healthy relationship will usually appreciate that clarity. He knows where he stands, understands what matters to you, and has the opportunity to meet those expectations through his actions. Respect becomes a two-way exchange, rather than something one person has to constantly earn. On the other hand, someone who repeatedly ignores your boundaries is giving you valuable information. Instead of seeing your needs as reasonable, they may expect you to sacrifice your comfort for their convenience. That's not a foundation for lasting trust. The strongest relationships aren't created by avoiding difficult conversations. They're built when two emotionally mature people are willing to communicate honestly, respect each other's limits, and consistently choose behaviors that strengthen the connection instead of weakening it. Boundaries don't push the right person away. They help the right person understand how to love you with respect, consistency, and care. Have you ever noticed that the people who seem the most attractive emotionally are rarely the ones trying the hardest to impress? That's because genuine attraction isn't created through constant effort to gain approval. It grows from authenticity, confidence, and emotional stability. When you're comfortable with who you are, you naturally communicate a sense of security. You don't feel the need to overanalyze every text message, seek reassurance after every conversation, or change your personality just to keep someone's interest. Instead, you show up as your true self, allowing the relationship to develop at a healthy pace. Being emotionally attractive also means knowing how to respond instead of react. When disagreements happen, you don't immediately assume the worst or let your emotions take complete control. You listen, communicate honestly, and stay respectful even when things become challenging. That kind of emotional maturity creates trust, and trust is one of the strongest foundations of lasting attraction. Another important quality is having a life that feels meaningful outside of the relationship. You continue pursuing your goals, enjoying your hobbies, spending time with people who care about you, and investing in your own growth. Your happiness doesn't depend on one person's attention, and that independence creates a quiet confidence that others naturally respect. Ironically, the less you focus on trying to be irresistible, the more genuine your presence becomes. People are drawn to those who are emotionally grounded because they create a sense of calm instead of pressure. They inspire connection rather than anxiety. At the end of the day, emotional attractiveness isn't about using clever strategies to keep someone interested. It's about becoming the kind of person who brings honesty, peace, confidence, and consistency into every relationship. And when you lead with those qualities, you won't have to chase meaningful connections. They'll be built on mutual respect and genuine appreciation. As we wrap up, remember this one powerful truth. The goal was never to make a man miss you. The real goal is to build a relationship where both people freely choose each other again and again through consistent effort and mutual respect. If there's one lesson to take away from this video, it's that matching a man's distance isn't about playing games. It's about refusing to chase someone who isn't meeting you halfway. When you stop overextending yourself, you create space for the truth to appear. Either he steps forward because he genuinely values the connection, or he continues to step back. And that answer is just as important. The healthiest relationships don't leave you constantly questioning your worth. They bring clarity instead of confusion, security instead of anxiety, and peace instead of emotional exhaustion. You shouldn't have to decode every text message or wonder if you're asking for too much by expecting consistency and respect. Most importantly, never measure your value by someone's level of attention. Your confidence, kindness, and character exist whether someone recognizes them or not. The right partner won't expect you to prove your worth every day. They'll appreciate it through their actions. So as you move forward, focus less on controlling someone else's feelings and more on protecting your own peace. Invest in your growth, communicate honestly, maintain healthy boundaries, and choose relationships that make you feel respected rather than uncertain. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on your own experiences. Have you been chasing clarity when you deserved consistency? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. And if you found value in today's video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more insights that help you build stronger, healthier, and more fulfilling relationships. Remember, the strongest attraction doesn't come from trying to be impossible to lose. It comes from becoming someone who never loses sight of their own self-worth. And that's a quality that will strengthen every relationship you build from this day forward.